All right, let's take a look at the gun low. Go ahead and isolate it. So we're going to smooth all of these edges. But the kind of stuff that's like, you can kind of see here, it's pretty important that all of these faces are planar. So what we can do is you come over to the, this is my scale. I just double clicked it to bring up the tool settings, and I'm going to switch this to component. And what you'll see is I guess that's my Z axis here, is now perpendicular to all these faces, which means I can scale them like this, and now they are like mathematically perfectly flat, which is going to look a lot better relative to the high poly, which is also mathematically perfectly flat. We can do the exact same thing here. I think you just want to be kind of careful if there's any curvature at all in the surface that you're talking to. Like, you see how high that's going in the front there? That's a warning sign. So I'm just going to back off that. Kind of clean this stuff up here. All of these faces. And what you'll end up with for this vector, that sort of perpendicular vector there, is going to be, I'm going to tap Q just to hide the transform so I can select these things without inadvertently bumping it. And I can see we've got like a little bit of a lift up there. So that's probably in the high poly, so I'm also just not going to mess with that. But these guys here, we should be able to, I'm going to go ahead and set this to world just to try to get this stuff nice and consistent, just where it like breaks this, and if you grab the edge, you're not going to be doing too much changing of the silhouette, just making that edge kind of like vertical and horizontal. Make sure we don't get any weirdness there. If you go too far, you'll definitely like screw up the bake, so it's definitely something you want to look out for. And you know, where the sides clearly match up with the world, like all these faces here, that makes it a lot easier to go ahead and, do you see like how subtle that is? It's like really very minor. Now for you guys, if there's I should probably grab these faces too. If there's a little bit of inconsistency in terms of like your high poly and the low poly, I mean, there's always going to be some, but you can definitely get a better looking bake if you just clean up a little bit. So I've got these two triangles kind of floating in space here, and I don't really want them to be tris. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these edges here. Again, I still have symmetry turned on, and connect. And then I'm just going to double click my move here, and you can get a transform constraint and set it to edge. So what that means is I can move these up, but I'm not actually going to change anything about how that edge looks. And now I can just kind of grab this vert and this vert and that vert and that vert, and we can connect those and get rid of these tris here. And then I'm going to collapse this. Get a little bit more breathing room. Again, I've still got my edge constraint on. So what that means is I can't move this thing off of the plane. It's going to be stuck on the edge, which gives me a lot of freedom for moving stuff around and just getting a little bit more of a consistent density, which again is definitely important. So I can run all this stuff down like that. And that's describing something with the shape there. I've got some curvature, so I don't want to mess with that. But these other ones here, maybe that's a little bit too far. Just kind of scoot it up a little bit. And we can see But that is helpfully reflected here on the other side. So that's an edge I don't need. Let's make sure these faces are... So I'm going to turn off my edge constraint and set this back to component. So I was I guess in move or something. So when you move, rotate, and scale are all going to have their own settings. And when you have something like this, where there's, in the high poly, it's going to be a very consistent feature up to there, probably. Good idea to go in and just, we'll set this to object, and we'll just straighten it up a little bit. Kind of do the same thing over here for this one. So this is, we're just correcting for the inconsistencies that result from a human hand process here. You're just not going to get it as close as it probably could be, and this is just a way to kind of alleviate any extra, randomness. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. We are just about at 7.5 minutes, so I'm going to call it here, and in the next video we're going to begin to look at UVs.